gentlemen, welcome to Pirate Radio. I am your host who needs no introduction whatsoever. There is no room in this country for hyphenated Americanism. When I refer to hyphenated Americans, I do not refer to naturalized Americans. Some of the very best Americans I have ever known were naturalized Americans, Americans born abroad. But a hyphenated American is not an American at all. This is just as true of the man who puts native before the hyphen as of the man who puts German or Irish or English or French before the hyphen. Americanism is a matter of the spirit and of the soul. Our allegiance must be purely to the United States. We must unsparingly condemn any man who holds any other allegiance. But if he is heartily and singly loyal to this republic, then no matter where he was born, he is just as good an American as anyone else. The one absolutely certain way of bringing this nation to ruin, of preventing all possibility of it continuing to be a nation at all, would be to permit it to become a tangle of squabbling nationalities, an intricate knot of German Americans, Irish Americans, English Americans, French Americans, Scandinavian Americans, or Italian Americans, each preserving its separate nationality, each at heart feeling more sympathy with Europeans of that nationality than with other citizens of the American Republic. The men who do not become Americans and nothing else are hyphenated Americans, and there ought be no room for them in this country. The man who calls himself an American citizen and who yet shows by his actions that he is primarily the citizen of a foreign land plays a thoroughly mischievous part in the life of our body politic. He has no place here, and the sooner he returns to the land to which he feels his real heart allegiance, the better it will be for every good American. Theodore Roosevelt, in an address to the Knights of Columbus of New York City, October 12th, 1915. No more prescient words than that. For those of you who are not familiar with Teddy Roosevelt's address, post-president, mind you, post-presidential term, it was probably before its time. I don't know the exact conditions of 1915 America other than we were on the precipice of war in Europe. World War I was going on. But one thing that Teddy Roosevelt knew was that any nation that divided itself would therefore become divided. And this division has been creeping up more and more, and it's kind of exploding currently with the quote-unquote Somalian Americans or Somali Americans whom all of us have known, whether, directly, indirectly, whether you could prove it or not prove it. But you just know when you have a complete subsect of a minority living within a city without any skills, without any past, without any sort of thing on the horizon, nothing that comes from their country that is great, nothing they could have brought with them that was prosperous, fleeing a war-torn shithole, you knew that the Somalian population was robbing this country blind through benefits. And we can be mad at the Somalis, and we should be mad at the Somalis, but you really should be more mad at your own government, not only who brought them here, granted them citizenship, asylum, whatever we're calling it, but also have been giving them the benefits. Whether it's the state government or the federal government, they're both just as guilty. Maybe one's more guilty than the other, but they both robbed the bank and they're both going to prison. This is interesting to me that we're not calling the Somalian Americans or Somali Americans the hyphenated Americans, that no one's referred to them as African Americans, because we've reserved that hyphenated American for anyone with dark melanated skin who is a United States citizen, who has never left these shores, who has never seen the dark continent, who could not find Mozambique on a map if you put a gun to their head, who think that Africa is some sort of monolithic place full of varying degrees of black people, not understanding that there are white people, there are brown people, there are Muslim, Christian, there are whatever voodoo fuckers, I don't know. But they don't even understand the continent from which they claim that they come from as hyphenated Americans. These are all made up terms. These are all propagandistic terms. Whether it's African American, Anglo American, Somali American, Asian American, whatever it is, gun violence, narco terrorist, these are all propagandistic terms that are made up to try to control or create some sort of victim minority class that must be protected at all costs. And that means your tax dollars, and sometimes in the Somali case, your blood in a foreign nation, spilling it to try to save the poor Somali people who then come here, shit all over our country, literally and figuratively, tell us how evil we are, how bad we are, how horrible this country is, win seats in Congress after marrying their brother, and then tell us how awful we are and how we need to change and that we're the problem. You're fucking welcome, you ungrateful cunts. I want them all deported. Every single one of them. I want everyone who supports them deported. I want that horrible cuck of a mayor named Jacob Freer Fry deported. He can go to Canada. At least there, you can smell the tires burning from Tim Walz's Minnesota or whatever the hell he said or his crazy wife said. Fuck all of you. Get the hell out. You can go back to your war-torn hellhole. We'll bring all our soldiers back, and you can embrace the utopia known as the Horn of Africa or Somalia. Or you can move over west to the Puntland, where they hate you even more. They will probably chop your head off after they mutilate the genitals of your wife. How do you like that for that beautiful, awesome country that you came from, known as shithole Somalia? Go back. Leave me alone. Get out of my country. Teddy Roosevelt's words are proven true with each passing day. More true with each passing day. That beautiful son of a bitch wrote, I don't even know if he wrote it, but he delivered one of the greatest speeches that you could ever read a transcript of. I don't know if there's a verbal version of it, of a recording. It doesn't really matter to me, because even though as bad a job as I did reading that, I can hear Teddy Roosevelt in my head reading that, shouting it without a microphone to a bunch of whatever Knights of Columbuses are on October the 12th, 1915. Every time you hear some sort of hyphenated American, African American is a made-up term, Native American is a made-up term. These are all propaganda, so you can know that this is a protected class, white boy, that you're not allowed to criticize whatsoever. And has it gotten better or worse for our country with all of the hyphenated nonsense that we have? Now you're a trans American, now you're a pan American, now you're a disabled American, now you're a bipolar American, a retarded American, a gay American, a I don't know what. Remove the latter from your name and leave our great nation. You're just trans. Okay, don't care. You're just gay. Good for you. I don't care. Fuck off. You're either an American or you're not. This is exactly why we're losing our country. It's coming apart at the seams because no one identifies as just an American and embraces the Americanism, or as I like to say, the toxic Americanism, because we're so great. We're such a beautiful country. We've done so many great things. We have taken what was good in the West and made it better. That's what we fucking do. We might not invent it, but we perfect it. We make it the best. Because we are the best. We tame the wilds of nature. We tame the wilds of other crazy countries and men. We should have colonized Africa. But my point is that we're so great at what we do, it is toxic to any other country that comes in contact with it because they are so much worse. And yes, this includes the United Kingdom, Great Britain, England, whatever the fuck they're calling themselves today, that little cuck island. Yes, it even includes you. It definitely includes Germany. Oh, for two World War people. I don't understand so many things, and I really don't understand why anyone would buy into some sort of hyphenated American. This whole intersectional dissecting of the American politique, if you will, down into very fine little sorted groups so you can create some sort of coalition that comes together to vote for you and put you in power or do whatever or move your agenda forward is nonsensical. It's ruining the country, and so many people are buying into it. At the very least, so many people I respect buy into the us versus them narrative. When you do these intersectional things, when you create these hyphenated Americans and these little intersectional groups that are protected because they're gay, trans, disabled, maybe all three, bipolar, mentally ill, call it whatever you want, when you buy into that, when you buy into the us versus them, you have to therefore inevitably buy into the, well, they're the them and we're the us. And now you've been split off again. We're seeing this intersectionality playing out on the right as well. I've talked about it numerous times. There's a glaring example on the quote-unquote conservative right that should not be on the conservative right, that should be ostracized from the quote-unquote conservative right. But it also points to the fact that two things. One, conservatism is a dead thing. It doesn't exist. It's just another talking point. It's just another propagandistic term at this point. There is no such thing as conservatism. And if there is a such thing as conservatism, it is nothing more than going the speed limit of progressivism. That's all it is. Because you just end up in the same spot. And the point of this, the person I'm talking about is Dave Rubin, who should be completely ostracized from any sort of quote-unquote conservative movement. Not because he's a homosexual and married another guy named David. I assume Dave Rubin's actual name is Dave. I don't know. It could be Dave. His parents could have had some sort of joke. But you have the two Daves buying kids. In what planet is buying kids conservative? What are you conserving there? Oh, we're conserving the life of the kids. The Daves paid a woman to have the kids. They paid a doctor to take their seed, mix it together, and then they paid this woman as a quote-unquote surrogate and an egg donor tens of thousands of dollars to birth these two kids, which, mind you, is just buying a fucking kid. I guess if they make it mow the lawn, now that they have a slave. To a certain point, when you don't let them, they can't be, they're not their own master, if you will, because they're immature, they're too young. You're not going to let an 8-year-old do whatever the hell they want and leave the house and take the car and what have you. So if you make them do the dishes or mow the lawn, you now have a slave because you paid for them. You therefore own them. They are your property at that point, and you have dominion over what they can do. So does someone want to tell me how that is conservative and that Dave Rubin has some sort of moral fucking high ground to then go and talk shit about other people on the right or other people in general? I mean, it's absolutely fucking wild to me that you have like Ben Shapiro and Dave Rubin are like on one side, and Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens are on the other side. And the mainstream, Con Inc., looks at Tucker and Candace and goes, they're fucking crazy. They don't represent conservatives at all. Oh no, the guy whose loyalty is to a foreign nation, another hyphenated American, mind you, in Ben Shapiro, and a guy who buys fucking children, they're the real conservatives. Are they? This is why I've never identified as a conservative. I've never said I'm a conservative. I've never said I'm a Republican. I've never said I'm Democrat or any of those other things, or a progressive. I have said I'm liberal before because I do have some liberal beliefs. Now, those assholes have ruined that that term of being a liberal, but that's not my fault. You can't castigate that for me. I mean, in the quote unquote classical sense of liberalism, the things on my wall, which I want to expand, make me fairly liberal. If I go even further with what I actually believe with those things on my wall and behind me, every law restricting purchase or ownership of those things, be it from something as dumb as you have to do a background check, or to as egregious as I can't own a machine gun or manufacture my own in my own home without getting the government's position, is completely unconstitutional. That is a pretty radically liberal view to very many people. That's not a conservative belief, because the conservatives will tell you how Antonin Scalia said, oh, you're able to restrict guns with certain laws and what have you. And I'm glad that he's dead, because he was dead fucking wrong. I don't care what Antonin Scalia said. He can also be wrong. He can also be a neocon Trotskyite piece of shit. There could have been things he said that were correct, but he was completely fucking wrong on that opinion. I don't care if Clarence Thomas, who's one of the most based Supreme Court justices that you'll ever come across, if he believes that, yes, you're allowed to make certain laws restricting gun ownership. He's fucking wrong. Completely wrong. Oh, but there's historical precedents. I don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter. I don't remember reading in the Constitution under the Second Amendment, the First Amendment, the Third Amendment, the Fourth, whichever amendment of the Bill of Rights that said, unless there's historical fact for this. I don't remember that addendum. I don't remember that asterisk, just as like I don't remember seeing any sort of asterisk for a age requirement for the Second Amendment or the First Amendment or the Fourth Amendment or any other amendment. I don't remember ever seeing that. Funny how it doesn't exist. But we can come up with whole cloth and say that, oh, no, you can do that because some state did it at some point and violated the Constitution and had an unconstitutional law. Great. Don't care. None of that is conservative. That is a very liberal position, to believe that every gun law is an infringement. Now, just because some piece of shit bastardized the term liberal, like Bill Maher, who's bastardized the term liberal, or Dave Rubin, who's bastardized two labels at this point, conservative and liberal, maybe that was the liberal side of him that bought the kids, since the left has always been historically in favor of slavery. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is this. The Hyphenated Americans is absolutely dead nuts on of the problems we're having in our country today. Every time you do the little hyphenated thing, what was that quote? Let's go back here and see. Yeah. Become a tangle of squabbling nationalities in intricate knot. What does that sound like? Does that sound like some crazed Somali minority group in Minneapolis? Some crazed group of Hindus or Bangladeshis or whatever living somewhere and doing their own thing and speaking their own language. You know, you have the east side of Tulsa. That is the Hispanic Mexican side of Tulsa, where there's a lot of Spanish being spoken, and it needs to stop. I have no problem with the ICE raids other than they need to be ratcheted up. I want all of these people gone. I want anyone who has any sort of entangling alliance with another nation gone. I want your American citizenship, if you have it, revoked, unless you revoke your other citizenship. There is no more dual citizenship in this country. That should be gone. I don't understand why that's allowed. It is completely crazy to me that that is allowed. I don't care that you come here and you pay taxes. Doesn't matter. I guess thanks for paying taxes. You're not getting the money back. Now get the fuck out. Oh, but I guess we could take the Joe Rogan position and attack it. As much as I like Joe Rogan's content and everything thus far that he's done, never met the man. But when he says, oh man, this is not what we voted for when somebody's been here for like 10, 15, 20 years, paid taxes as a family. I didn't vote for rounding them up. I did. I voted for that. I want you all gone. All of you. I don't care that you're paying taxes. I find, here's another liberal position, I find that taxation to be completely unjust, especially when it's income tax. I find the complete Social Security system completely unjust and unconstitutional. Oh, but they paid taxes. They paid into Social Security. I guess thank you, but get out. We should get rid of Social Security tomorrow. Yes. Medicare, Medicaid as well. Yes. I don't like socialism. I don't like borderline communism. I don't like borderline fascism. I don't like communism or fascism. But I don't like any of these like borderline little forms that we have going on. Get rid of them all. Get rid of the people. Let's return to being Americans. Let's be the toxic Americans that we all should be. Let's talk about how great we are. We used to know how great we were. You know, maybe pre-GWAT and 20 years of nonsensical, just mired in the muck of foreign nations that no one gives two shits about, even the people who live there. Perhaps that has undermined our American pride and our American power for sure. Our Americanism has been completely undermined by that nonsense, and we've just had wedge after wedge after wedge driven in between us. Wedge of gay, wedge of trans, wedge of this, wedge of black, wedge of Mexican, wedge of Hispanic, wedge of this. By the way, we get all completely lost in the mire of the intersectionalities of everything that we don't even realize that Mexican's not a race. Oh, don't be racist and talk about Mexicans. They're not a fucking race, man, because I can become Mexican. I can't become Hispanic, but I can become Mexican. I wouldn't want to because it's an absolute shithole, but I could. Okay, if you can become that, then that's not an immutable characteristic or an intrinsic ethnicity or anything like that. Same thing with Judaism. If I can become Jewish, if I can do it, if I can convert, then it's not a race of people. Okay, I'm sorry. Some things you just have to accept. If you can become it, then it is. I can't become black. I can't. It's impossible. I guess there's. You know what I'm saying. You can't really I guess I could get it tattooed or something, but you're not actually black. Like you can't convert to black. And a black person cannot convert to white. As much as Michael Jackson tried, with all the money he had, he failed. Okay? You can't do it. You can't do it. So therefore, that thing actually is a little bit different and does exist. These are the actual social constructs, though, because someone's color of their skin is a little bit darker or lighter than the others. Therefore, they are this, that, or the other. Are they? Or are we all just still fucking humans and we should all be fucking Americans? Maybe we try that for once in a while. Maybe we try becoming Americans and take our country back from a cultural standpoint, not a political standpoint, where every 4 years we just elect, every 4 to 8 years, we just elect some kind of pseudo dictator who on the first day does a whole bunch of EOs and undoes what the last guy did and does the new thing that the new guy wants to do. And then we go from there. And then all the while, you have all the bureaucratic kind of deep state types who are just sitting there going, oh, great. I guess we got to weather this out for 4 years, whether we listen to it or not. Maybe, just maybe, we remember that we're actually fucking Americans and we be Americans. So that's my diatribe on Americanism. And I love... there's a lot of criticisms you can level at Teddy Roosevelt. There's a lot of criticism you can level at any historical figure, any current political figure, or just famous figure. But all told on the ledger, Teddy Roosevelt's a plus. One of the things I'm apprehensive to ever really get into, I guess more recently apprehensive to get into because it's not an old story, is the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And I'm not going the whole Candace Owens deep dive. I haven't listened to her stuff. I don't know. That's a whole separate thing. I'm not getting into that. I heard a secondhand account. Not an account. It's a guy talking to a friend of his who the friend is some sort of in the know by being in the military. And they come up about the Charlie Kirk assassination. And this person relayed what their friend, who's supposedly in the know, told them about the Charlie Kirk assassination. which was just too insane to not have to comment on. He was told that Charlie Kirk was not actually shot in the neck. No. He was shot in the chest and had a steel plate in there in his bulletproof vest because it is more compact and it doesn't look like it's more sleek, so it doesn't look like you're wearing a bulletproof vest. I know. So the bullet hit the metal plate and it ricocheted, his words, ricocheted and hit him in the neck. My eye twitched again when saying it because it is so ridiculously stupid. First of all, 10 minutes in shooting a metal target, if you don't already know, which basically a metal plate is nothing more really than a metal target with fabric over it to try to prevent this, what's known as spalling. Spalling is when you shoot a metal target, it hits said target, the bullet fragments into a whole bunch of pieces and goes all over the place. You can put a piece of cardboard, you can tape it around your metal target, and you can shoot the target, and you'll get holes from the fragments of the bullet in your cardboard. That's what's known as spalling, okay? The other part of this that is so ridiculous is he cited, his friend told him a statistic that he said, well, why would you wear that if that's a thing that could happen? He said, well, it's a 96% chance that's not going to happen. I don't know where this person got these facts. But it's still making my eye twitch because it's so ridiculous. It's absolutely, even if you had a metal plate on a bulletproof vest, which I don't believe that Charlie Kirk had a bulletproof vest on, even if you had a metal plate and it hit and it did spall, it's probably going to hit somewhere up here because it doesn't do this. It's not, the bullet disintegrates at that point, by and large. Now, there's some different things of like different bullet types and whatnot, but that's a whole nother topic and a whole nother discussion. But that got me thinking more about the Charlie Kirk assassination. And before we get in, we're not going to get into like who done it and all of that. Mainly because of this. The assumptions that are being made about it are just absolutely insane. I looked for a little while to try to find any sort of autopsy results on for Charlie Kirk's, murder. I couldn't find any. They might be out there. I didn't look that hard. Like I said, I tried for like 5 minutes, just simple Google searches and a couple of different websites. I couldn't find anything. It's too hot of a subject. There's too much to gain by just getting you to click on things because people are looking at it. Probably, a lot of it with Candace talking about it, that people are trying to look it up on their own and verify what she's saying or disprove what she's saying, what have you. But suffice to say, I couldn't find any sort of autopsy. But the assumptions that are being made are crazy because we don't know the bullet type. We have been told that it was like a 30-06. We still don't have, I've not seen verification of that. We're told that it was a Mauser that was converted to 30-06. There's a lot of that. That did happen a lot. Could have been a thing. Fair enough. Let's assume it's a 30-06 bullet. Again, we're already assuming that. We don't know the barrel length of the rifle. We've been shown a picture of a rifle found in a field. Not actually been verified that that was said rifle, so we don't know the barrel length. Even from that, we didn't know the barrel length, but a lot of us are good enough, or know guys that are good enough at the very least that can go, oh, well, that barrel's never been cut down because this, that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And you can get a pretty good rough estimate of it's a 20-inch barrel or it's a 24, it's 18, it's whatever. If you look, it's not frame. No, it isn't frame. Right there is actually an original Mauser 98K, still an 8mm Mauser. That is the basis, allegedly the basis of that 30-06 rifle. So what you would do is you would take that, and because 8mm Mauser is not really a common cartridge, at least it's not common I mean, you can find it, but the 30-06 is a much more common cartridge, especially in the United States. It was our standard military round up through up through Korea. And it's a great deer hunting cartridge. It's been around forever. But basically, you take that rifle and you would rebarrel it with 30-06, 8 millimeter and 30 caliber, .30 caliber, pretty much the same as far as like the case diameter and all that. So the bolt still works. The bullet lengths are pretty nominal, but you just rebarrel it, and now you've got a 30-06. Pretty simple, but again, we don't know the barrel length. We don't know the grain weight of the bullet. We don't know the bullet type. Was it a full metal jacket, a soft point, a jacket at a hollow point, any number of things. A TMJ, was a special load, was it all lead, was it copper jacket, was it this, was it that? All of these things matter in this because you can't actually say for any sort of certainty if you don't know these things. The reason you need to know the bullet type is because you need to know what to expect from the bullet when it hits a target. Full metal jackets tend to just pass through. Soft points tend to it's a soft lead point, so it tends to it can fragment, but it tends to just deform and tumble and create a whole bunch of damage in their jacket. A hollow point, I mean, if you're not familiar with a hollow point, it has a hollow point that then when it hits soft tissue is supposed to open, expand, creating a massive damage cavity and wound. So we don't know what that is. So, and then the grain weight is going to tell us kind of roughly, first of all, it's going to tell us the weight of the bullet and the size of the projectile. It's going to tell us what kind of a velocity we should be expecting out of our specific bullet, out of our specific barrel length, at our specific distance, whatnot. I mean, it's approximately 142-yard shot, elevated position is what we've been told. There was this statement that came out about that, Charlie had a spine of steel and it stopped the bullet, and there was, people all behind him. Looked like a whole bunch of cops were actually behind him, and that prevented anyone else from being hit. That is possible. Not the spine of steel, but it is possible that a spine or a bone did stop that bullet. That is a possibility because, again, we don't know what type of bullet it was. But that's my thoughts on the Charlie Kirk thing, at least more updated. I want to take a more conservative, kind of passive take on the Charlie Kirk thing. I being that what my interests really are outside of like politics and this nonsense is really into the gun part. If you peruse the YouTube channel, it's more gun stuff than it is podcast stuff. And although it's coming about 50-50 now since I do at least one of these a week, that's the real true passion behind me is, firearms, how they work, what they do, ballistics of them, different projectiles, different grain weights, it's just, that's the stuff I'm into. That's the stuff I like. That's the stuff that I don't ever want to like go, oh, I definitely blah, blah, blah. Like there's any number of quick things. If you know a specific firearm was used in or a specific style of firearm was used in a homicide or mass shooting or what have you, there's any number of things where you can go in your head and you're like, well, that would do this, that, blah, blah, blah. And you can use that to kind of disprove things that you're going to hear. I can't really think of an example right now necessarily. I guess you could say if you hear something about like, there was a mass shooting and they were able to, take down a dozen people in, 1 minute or what have you, you can go, well, probably had a high capacity thing. It's probably was more of a rifle, condensely packed place, short amount of time, lot amount of damage, probably going to be a rifle, definitely going to be something with mag capacity outside of 5 rounds. So you can basically rule out hunting rifles, classic rifles. You pretty much rule out a shotgun. You can almost rule out a pistol, but again, we have high, there's any number of things. But when you know this stuff, you can kind of start to get formulate a informed opinion in your head, and then you can go on later when things come out and like you can figure out okay, this is what happened, blah, 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 whatever. Anyway, I'm fucking rambling on. We arrested the pipe bomber from January 6th. Okay. Turns out it's a black guy. No one saw that coming. It wasn't some dykey-looking chick with short hair. That's weird. Also, the timing of this is very odd. Not only because it's been, January 6, 2020, and we're in 2025. We're closer to January 6th of 2026. So let's say it's been 6 years since this event happened and since this pipe bomb was found. But also, I believe the Trump administration, with Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and that blowhard asshole who was a liar, Dove Bongino, have been at DOJ in various levels for 10 months, give or take. I know Dan came on a little bit later. I think Kash took a little while to get processed through and confirmed, but allegedly all the information was there. It was just sitting on somebody's desk right next to the Epstein files that didn't exist. I don't believe you. The other part that's very concerning and very convenient is that you had Thomas Massie looking deep into this for many months and talking to various people. There are interviews with Thomas Massie, both short and long-term, or long-form interviews with him, talking about J6 and the pipe bomber and pipe bombers. And allegedly there were 3 pipe bombs that were found. We only knew about 2. Most people only knew about 1. He found that there was a third by another guy who, on his own, with his own group, found a third pipe bomb that existed. I've seen some alleged pictures of the pipe bomb up close, and they look cartoonish, so I don't believe those at all. Could be, but I don't really believe that. It's all just too damn convenient. And it's all just too damn convenient to deflect from, again, the Epstein files. All of a sudden, all the people allegedly cared about the Epstein files who are on the right are now talking about the J6 pipe bomber and how we found him. I don't believe you. I don't. I have no reason to believe you. And anyone who's believing Kash and Dan just wholeheartedly and all Pammy, I guess you also believe that Iran had nuclear weapons. So maybe there's no hope for you. And I guess you also believe that we're just taking out boats full of fentanyl in Venezuelan waters or international waters after they left Venezuela. I guess you believe that as well. You know what? It might be kind of true. But here's the kind of the biggest fact of it all is that 10 seconds of a Google search will tell you that the vast majority of fentanyl is coming through the southern ports and the southern border. At least that's where they find it. But we're out there hunting boats in international waters off the coast of Venezuela? What? This isn't going to stop the drug trade. It's something like 95% of the fentanyl found comes through the southern port borders, through the borders, from Mexico. Basically funded by the Chinese. But we're not talking about China or Mexico right now. We're talking about the Venezuelans. What the hell does that have to do? Let's say 5% of the fentanyl in this country does come from Venezuela. So we have like a strike carrier group or battleship group. We have boats, like big boats of our Navy dedicated to the 5%. Someone make that make sense. We're dedicating all of these resources to 5%. Maybe we should spend some resources here on why there's an appetite for that shit. Because one of the things I think that people don't understand is that they're not taking the fentanyl and cutting heroin, cocaine, whatever. There is a little bit of that. But because that's been happening for so long, people now are seeking out straight fentanyl. Let that one sink in. Why is there an appetite for fentanyl? Where did it come from? How did it get in this country? Why is it that we've been watching on Netflix, wife and I have been watching Nurse Jackie, and it ended in like 2010, I think. And she's addicted to fentanyl. She had fentanyl strips. Said it right on the package. This is like 2007, 2008. None of us heard of fentanyl until what? 2018? 2020? So, should we blow up like whoever makes fentanyl? Like Pfizer? Should we take those same carrier groups and start decimating Chinese ships out in the ocean headed towards Mexico? Because you probably get more of it if you did that. But it's still not going to cure the problem. By the way, what was it before fentanyl that was had people addicted? I don't know. There was an opioid crisis that everyone was whining about. That was real, and you should have been whining about it, and we should have done something about it, and we didn't. This is just perpetuation of that. Where did that come from? Why aren't those people being drone striked? Why aren't the Sacklers being drone striked? Why don't we lure them into international waters and drone strike them? Wouldn't that do more good than whoever these yahoos are in off the coast of Venezuela in international waters? And by the way, let me just add to this, though. The double tap on them, don't care. Double tap them. Because the people crying out about first of all, let's just start here. International law is a joke. It doesn't exist. It's another propagandistic term. It doesn't exist. Oh, but we arrested Slobodan Milosevic, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, guess what? If there's no enforcement mechanism, it doesn't exist. We're the enforcement mechanism. So, therefore, well, I guess Russia is too. You know, you can say Putin's a war criminal, this, that, or the other. Great, go arrest him. Oh, wait, you can't. There you go. So, international law doesn't exist. It's just some sort of like agreement written on a piece of paper that no one's abiding by. So, if there's no enforcement mechanism, then it doesn't exist, right? So, get that out of your mind of international law, blah, 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 and, you know, rules of war, blah, blah, blah. The rules of war are set by us. They're written by us. They're set by us. We can follow them or not. I don't know why we have them. I don't know why we even act like they're real. Maybe it's just so our current enemies that we go fight know exactly what we're going to do and not going to do. I don't know. But it's retarded. It's completely retarded. International law doesn't exist. So this whole idea of like, oh, you never shoot you never shoot a guy who's wounded. Okay. Let's take your stupid argument and work it out here. They're in the water. The boat's been hit by a missile. So the boat is gone. They're in international waters, which is, if I remember right, it's like 50 miles off the coast of any nation, 50, 100. It's a lot. Can't see the coast anymore. It's at night. So your solution to this, Mr. Bleeding Heart, is that we've drone strike the boat. These people have been thrown from the boat. And we should just leave them? If I'm one of those guys, can you I'm going to go back to the boat. Can you hit it again and get me this time? Because I'm not exactly familiar with the coastal waters of Venezuela or South America, or any waters for that matter. But there's probably some sort of animal in there that if you're bleeding will eat you. Like a shark. I'd rather be drone struck by a Hellfire missile than devoured by a shark in international waters. Please put me out of my misery. Send in the SEALs and have them shoot me, okay? Because we're not going to go over there and pick them up and render aid. We just drone struck the motherfuckers. Idiots. Double tap them. Triple tap them. I don't care. You fire bursts. And bursts with missiles means more than one. If you're going to do it right first and foremost. And if they survive, well, fuck, hit them again. Once you decide you're taking this, you know what the missile is going to do. What the intent of the missile is to kill everybody, destroy the cargo, destroy the boat, and kill anyone on board. Okay, well, we did 2 of those things. And anyone on board, well, we got some of them. We didn't get them all. Hit them again. We're Americans. We follow through, okay? We say we're going to do a job. We're going to do a job, okay? In the words of the great snowman from Smokey and the Bandit, we say we're going to do a job. We're going to do a job. I actually wrote shit down this time, fools. Yeah. Pipe bomber. Still makes me laugh. You know, what's a narco-terrorist if we get back to the Venezuela thing? What does that mean? Is that another one of those just stupid terms that people eat up, they don't ever think about? Narco-terrorist. What's a terrorist? How are we being terrorized by the narcos? Have you been terrorized by a narcotics person? I'll bet you've been more terrorized by a government employee of your own country than you have been by a narcotics person. You know, I've been called a crazed libertarian for this view, but, which I'm not, but let's just play this out. How much fentanyl would the cartel or cartels or Venezuelans or whomever move into this country if no one bought it? Is it zero, less than zero, or more than zero? Who's buying it? Why is there a market? Why is it profitable, allegedly, to load up a boat with a few dudes, a whole bunch of barrels, and a bunch of outboard motors and start heading north with risk of being blown up by a Hellfire missile from a drone? Why is that highly profitable? All the countries you pass on the way, and you're obviously not selling it in your own country or any countries to the south, but you're loading it up and you're coming here. There must be a big market. Interesting. So I guess everybody who's like got their dicks hard over blowing up quote unquote narco terrorists are also like their dicks are hard for the war on drugs that may or may not been going on since, I don't know, 1972. So did we cure the drug problem? Or has it gotten worse? And now we're just blowing up people in random waters with God knows what expensive kind of missiles and other hardware because of narco terrorists. By the way, when your government can just label something blank terrorist, another hyphenated thing, which doesn't really apply to what I started with, but fuck you, another thing that's just terrorist, the terrorists. How long before it's the right-wing, domestic, crazed, Republican, conservative terrorist, gun terrorist, Second Amendment terrorist, militia terrorist, white national terrorist, Christian nationalist terrorist, Christian terrorist, religious terrorist? How long? And under which regime do you think that might happen? Again, this plays into the hyphenated Americans. When you create these intersectional communities and all of these little sectioned off groups that are all blank American, this American, that American, all you're doing is perpetuating the us versus them mentality, and it's just driving a wedge between our American culture. And now we all look at Somalian Americans, and African Americans and go, man, I hate those people because they're doing X, Y, and Z. And then you have a whole part of the political establishment that backs up those idiots. And now we have an us versus them. I agree. The problem is so bad that you really just have to restart. There is a possibility. No, they're not going to assimilate. They've never been made to assimilate. They've always been told that, America is a melting pot and we're a nation of immigrants. Bullshit. We're not a melting pot. We're not a nation of immigrants. We're just a fucking nation forged in blood. That's what we are. And we're the people of that. Oh, but people immigrated here and then became Americans. So guess what? We're not immigrants anymore, you idiots. We're Americans. Act like it. Be a fucking American. Make the new guy on the block who came from God knows where become an American. I don't give a fuck about your food. Yeah, I like Indian food. You know what I like better? Steak. Indian food's fine. Mexican food is fine. But I'll tell you this much. Yes, tamales are low on the totem pole. No big news there. But I ain't eating fucking menudo, man. I'm not eating stomach. Lingua. I don't want cow tongue. I want cow rib. I want cow hindquarters. I'm not eating the fucking stomach. You know why? Because this is America. This isn't shithole Mexico. And I'm not eating whatever the fuck they eat over in Somalia that they brought here that they fed to that stupid mayor who instantly regretted eating that shit, which is the funniest thing I've seen all week. He couldn't get that shit out of his mouth fast enough, and he certainly wasn't putting another spoonful in there. I don't know what the fuck you get from Somalia. I didn't even know they had food because we sent 30,000 Marines over there in the early 90s because they're fucking starving to death. Doesn't sound exactly like a culinary fucking wonder to me. Sounds like a shithole. What do they eat in Somalia? Fucking mud? Flies on it for a little bit of protein? What do they even have? I don't want anything from Somalia. I want anything really much from Africa. I'm sure there's parts of Africa that have something decent. Great. Fuck you, we're full here. Literally and figuratively. Food and people. This is a land of plenty. Milk and honey. If we want your food, we'll have it. We'll take it, we'll make it better like we did with Mexican food. And then you just have to try to throw tamales on us from the home country, from the old country. Just stop. The burritos are great. Burrito, taco, enchilada, nacho, quesadilla, fajita. We don't need tamales. We don't. We're fucking full. And we don't need a whole bunch of like traditional Indian food. No, we need the Americanized version that uses like actual meat. Where people wash their hands and then prepare it. Okay? Curry is great. I don't need my whole house to smell like it. And I don't need you to smell like it as you walk around, come into the office, smelling like, I don't even know how to describe it. But like spicy BO. Okay? Maybe don't eat curry every fucking night. Mr. Jeet, don't do it. Maybe you fucking assholes embrace the country that embraced you and start having our food. Oh, but I'm Hindu. I don't eat the beef. I don't fucking care. Then you can leave. I've never seen a Japanese person say, oh, no. We don't eat steak. You know what they did? They went and made a better fucking cow. They loved it so much. Wagyu beef? They were like, fuck, we got to get some of these cows. Stop eating all this stupid fish that's uncooked. I do like sushi. Not going to lie. Sushi is good. But it ain't beef. It's not. And it ain't pork. You Muslims and Jews are missing out. I'm fine with it. But pork's fantastic. It is. It's fucking wonderful. Y'all are retarded for not eating it. I'm fucking out. I used to say that if I was going to convert to a religion, like Judaism was high on the list, mainly because they don't want you. So it's like a club that you got to like pledge of the religious world. But do I have to keep kosher, not eat fucking pork? I'm out, bro. Out. No wonder you guys are so fucking angry over there in Israel. You don't have any pork. I don't know what you do have. Terrorism. I don't know. We have derailed on the show. What else do we talk about now? I got like 5 minutes to fill here. Part of me wants to research the Charlie Kirk assassination more, and part of me really doesn't. And I don't mean like in the behind the scenes and the I want to, part of me wants to dive into the actual act and the shooting part of it. But for obvious reasons, that would mean I would have to watch the video, the unedited version. I don't really want to do that. It still bothers me that I've seen the video and I saw Charlie get hit in the aftermath. It still really bothers me. I don't like it. I think it really bothers me because of who it was more than anything. It's funny how you can dissociate from horrific things like that if you don't know the person at all. or if they appear to be a, you know, I'm sure many of us have seen the, the criminal gets to come up and tries to rob somebody, and they get dealt with, for lack of a better term, in the video. It's easy to kind of dissociate that because they were the perpetuator, they were the aggressor, they were usually they kind of had it coming. So it's you glom onto them as they're a bad, evil person, and they very well may be, and they also very well may not be. There's any number of reasons that for that day they decided that was a good idea or a quick way to get money or whatever it is. Or you see the homeless person who's trying to do the crazy thing and someone, deals with them. But when it's somebody that and I didn't know Charlie obviously, but when it's someone when you have a pretty good understanding of them, you have an idea of their life, wife, kids, very young, very good natured, doing things for all the right way or all the right reasons, loving his country, loving God, um, buying into the system wholeheartedly. That was not a hyphenated American whatsoever. Charlie Kirk, straight up American. And seeing the respect and admiration of other people that they had for him, never really a bad word to say about him. When you see someone like that be murdered, killed, it's a lot more. It's a lot more difficult to accept it and process it. It's harder than the criminal. It's just how we work as humans. Unfortunately, I mean, both the criminal was a human being as well, a child of God, if you will, just like Charlie was. But it's easier to just kind of brush that off. It's very difficult to brush off what happened to Charlie. Um, and it's such graphic, high resolution detail. To, if we're being honest, a lot of like CCTV or security cameras, pretty grainy and it's hard to see. You don't always get the depth and clarity that you got with that one. But I've thought about doing some of that stuff here of like breakdowns of things, of videos, fight videos, and things of that nature. And it might be something I do in the future. But there's a part of me that doesn't want to do it because I don't want to get even more desensitized. I don't know. That's a tough one. It's something I definitely struggle with. Because on the one hand, as I explained earlier with the ballistics part and the gun part and in the, distance and the actual mechanics of the shot and the hit and the wound is something that is intriguing to me, but the end result is not intriguing to me whatsoever. And I think I have a pretty good baseline of being able to explain to people who don't understand or just don't know what we're talking about, what happened, what are the things that can happen, and things of that nature. I'm by no means an expert on it, but I have a pretty good knowledge of how things work in that environment. And it's something that I do all the time. I shoot, thousands of rounds per year, pistol, rifle, shotgun. And you get a pretty good idea of how things operate, sight patterns, what you can see, what you can't see, shooting from a rest versus shooting prone versus shooting with no rest, just, offhand. You develop a baseline of, I guess, of knowledge that a lot of people don't have. So I don't know. Something I thought about. If anybody agrees with that, wants to see it, feel free to put it in the comments, whether it's YouTube or Rumble or here on X or Spotify or whatever. I don't know. If you care, let me know. Anyway, in closing, Teddy Roosevelt was a great American. He did a lot for this country. This country did a lot for him, but he paid it back. One of the more interesting things about Teddy Roosevelt is pretty much all of the African wildlife that you can go see, preserved wildlife that you can go see in the Smithsonian, was taken by Teddy and his son Kermit in their African expedition. So that's a pretty good little interesting little fact. Anyway, in closing, everybody, thank you for listening. Thanks for those of you that hung out live. I very much appreciate it. And just remember this. Do not ever apologize for being an American. Do not ever identify as some sort of hyphenated American. Just be an American and embrace your toxic Americanism. See you guys later.